Well, as I talked about on my video podcast this weekend, that my new video pod that's on Midas Touch. Yes, everybody, I added a video podcast. I am not taking away any of my other podcasts. I now write and produce and direct and co-host 10 shows a week. So this is number 10. But I talk about all of the media failures there, and there have been more since I had summed them up. And we talked about the expert at BBC saying that the shooter must be a member of Antifa, or espouses Antifa or anti-fascist ideology because of the Ciao Bella song and because of the "Hey Fascist" catch. I think it's right, or it's up, right, down, down, down arrow. All of those things are from a video game about fascists, about a fascist regime. So it's not espousing any specific Antifa ideology, nor does it espouse any transgender ideology. First of all, what is transgender ideology? That phrase doesn't make any sense to me. It's like CRT or woke or no collusion, or something that just doesn't make sense. It's a bumper sticker.
I think that's a very important point, Allison. Like, when they've normalized nonsense that makes no sense. Like, what do you mean? Like, no one's asked them, what do you mean by transgender ideology? Can you define it? And whenever they tried to define CRT, remember how they failed? But I think that's a very good point. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no worries. So, but they've been so desperate to tie this to a transgender person. I know Molly on Blue Sky tweeted, the shooter is transgender. No, the bullets are transgender. No, the roommate is transgender. No, a sweaty Kash Patel steps out into the crowd and screams, is there anyone who's transgender nearby? And also my first thought was, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. My best friend's brother's cousin's girlfriend knows this guy who heard from this girl who saw a transgender person pass out at a 31 Flavors last night. It's like the most
What
ridiculous.
was that line from Spaceballs? I am your father's brother's
Yeah.
college roommate's cousin. So what does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So it's desperation and it's ridiculousness. But the media failed, right? We had the four examples that I gave uh, actually, there were only three examples I gave because more had come out since I recorded that, or since I went live on that Midas Touch podcast. But first of all, the Wall Street Journal, where they came out the next morning and said that they still heard from a guy who knows a girl who knows somebody at Kash Patel's FBI who saw a law enforcement bulletin that said that there were things carved on the bullets that espoused transgender and anti-fascist ideology. And I wanted to share that reporting, like a screenshot of that reporting, with the questions. What were the phrases that were etched on the bullets? What is transgender ideology? Can you show me the memo? Who signed the memo? Who is the single source that told the Wall Street Journal this? Is it Stephen Miller? Is it Kash Patel? Is it somebody that Trump told to go and make it about transgender people? Like, I need to know this. But I didn't want to share that reporting more broadly than it had already been shared. I didn't want to draw any attention to it. So I waited, which is what you're supposed to do if you have any integrity. And within 2 hours, the ATF said, that's not real.
Yep.
You're misinterpreting our data and our law enforcement bulletin. So that happened. Then we had the
But
Washington
Allison, you
Post.
know what, Allison? We tried our best on our shows to actually read exactly what the senior official said. Is that's one source? It could be misread. It hasn't been confirmed. That information, unfortunately, was not spread. What went wildfire was that reckless Wall Street Journal headline. The damage done.
Right. And first impressions are what matter. They can post a retraction all they want, which they did, but nobody reads that. The myth is already the truth, right?
I'm just
So
letting my cats out. My cat's meowing and desperately wants to go out and run. So sorry. I don't want to be disrespectful.
no worries. The second thing, and I mean, I guess we could add Trump going out Wednesday night and saying that it was a radical leftist ideology that caused this murder, right? That's the clarion call. That's his Nazi bat signal to say, hey, media that I own and that have capitulated to me, and hey, FBI that I own and control, and hey, DOJ, the message is that this is radical leftists. Everybody got the message? Hey, governors of red states, including Governor Cox, who might need fire disaster relief from me next year or this year, later in the fall. the message is that this is leftist ideology that caused this, or that this person is left wing. So that call went out. And then Wall Street Journal did their thing. It fell in line, as obedient, capitulating corporate media does. Then somebody from the BBC, as I said, an expert from the BBC, oh, this is obviously part of some Antifa or anti-fascist ideology. Even after I had, and many people, not just me, had posted the information about those phrases coming from a video game. And then the Washington Post put out an article misquoting Governor Cox, saying Governor Cox said that the shooter doesn't like Charlie Kirk. And the reason he doesn't like Charlie Kirk is because Charlie Kirk is full of hate. And I said, there's no way that the guy who murdered Charlie Kirk murdered him because he's full of hate. There's just no way. And sure enough, they had to post a retraction. Oh, sorry, there was a third family member who Governor Cox heard had said that they didn't like Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was full of hate. So they fixed that, right? Well, they posted their retraction.
After it all.
Right, way after it all did. Then we had another thing happen with The Guardian,
Yep.
where The Guardian said, oh, I talked to a friend of his who went to high school with him who knows somebody, and they said he's definitely the only leftist in the family and has left-wing ideology. And then they had to retract that because their source was a pile of shit. And so
And also, Allison, in that Guardian piece, and again, people just run with the headlines, which is why the fact that they're even publishing this, I thought it was, and Guardian's usually responsible, but the fact that they published this so quickly in that piece itself, later on, they say that source that they relied upon, which the right wing then used as propaganda to further promote the narrative that was already written right before we had any facts. Like you said, Donald Trump sent out the Nazi bat signal before there was a suspect, before there was a motive. They were already blaming the far left and transgender. Nancy Mace, before there was a suspect, before there was a motive. She used the word tranny. I'm going to double down it down. It's a tranny. It's a transgender, right? In that Guardian article itself, it says that source had not spoken to Tyler Robinson in years. And that he knew them years ago. So he could have changed, right? And then I'm like, then why the hell? I remember before they retracted it, I'm like, Guardian, then why the hell would you publish it? And then after the fact, they're like, whoopsie, retraction.
Yeah.
But Allison, the damage, done.
Right. And then Governor Cox goes on all the Sunday shows and says, oh, law enforcement, someone says that he has a roommate who is transitioning from a man to a woman, and that person is cooperating with the FBI. And by the way, why is the FBI still involved? There's not going to be any federal charges here because it's not an assassination and it's not a hate crime and it didn't happen on federal property. These are going to
they're going to try. They're going to try.
Well, fine, but that's a lost case. And that's why we haven't seen any federal charges. So he's going out there and saying all of this, and nobody is saying, where did you hear that? Who told you that? Have you confirmed that? Nobody has, he just kind of went out and said it as though it was the truth. And now, everyone's running with that. Oh, well, he had a transgender. So, okay, I first of all think that entire story is bullshit. We'll find out, maybe. Maybe we won't. But nobody questioned the sources there. And let's play that out to its logical conclusion.
Please.
So what? Let's say that that's true. Let's say he had a roommate living in his very Trumpy Republican parents' Mormon home that was transgender. Let's say that that's real, even though all of the friends and family members and neighbors say that they're a huge Trump-supporting, gun-loving family. And so what? What does that have to do with the motive behind why this person doesn't like Charlie Kirk? And do they even not like Charlie Kirk? Or are they just picking some high-profile person to show off to their video game friends? And so, we still haven't espoused a motive. And we have speculated, and I want to make clear that it is speculation, that the motive could be that it's because the shooter is further to the right of Charlie Kirk, like the Groypers and like Nick Fuentes. You and I know, and by the way, I shared with you text messages to several of my friends on Wednesday, within an hour or two of the shooting, when people asked me, what do you think this is? And my very first reaction was, I think that this is somebody who listened to a lot of Nick Fuentes. I think this is somebody who doesn't like Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk because they support Bibi Netanyahu, right? Or, somebody who's not neo-Nazi enough. That's what my initial thoughts were on who this is. And there's a whole group of people who hate Charlie Kirk and people like him because they like Nick Fuentes, and those people are called groypers. So that I haven't really truly seen anything that definitively ties this kid to the groypers. But it's important that when the media is reporting on who or speculating on who or what the motive might be for the shooting, that they don't leave that part out. It's not just a leftist because it's Charlie Kirk.
There's more tying this kid to what we know to the groypers than it is to anything quote unquote far left or transgender. Let me repeat that. From what we know, there's more tying this kid to the groypers than anything with transgender folks or a transgender ideology, which doesn't exist, and the far left.
There's
Further,
zero tying
yeah,
this kid to Democrats. Zero that ties
and,
this
and
kid to Democrats.
and they've run more with the far left narrative already promoted by Donald Trump and MAGA right in the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's murder, before there was a suspect, before there was a motive. And then when Donald Trump was asked about it, the day that Tyler Robinson was announced as the suspect, he said, well, what about the far? Donald Trump openly, he can't help it. He just tells you the supervillain plot. I don't care. Far left violence is worse than the right wing violence. So he doesn't even care. So they're telling you they don't even care about the plots, the facts, the evidence. They have the narrative. They're going to run with it. And if you've been following, and I hope you have, and I hope you all rested over the weekend, I got all these death threats and stuff because I weighed into it. They've already January 6th it, folks. It's over. So forget about trying to win over MAGA. This has already become Donald Trump won the 2020 election. 80% of Republican voters, as of right now, believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, that he lost. So it doesn't matter what me and Allison say. So you're not going to win them over. It's a cult. But you can win over everybody else. Number one, you can win them over by reminding them that Charlie Kirk was a hateful piece of shit. No one deserves to die. No one deserves to be murdered. Just literally play his own clips, his own words. And people are like, oh my God. The normies, Allison, are like, this guy was, why are they elevating this guy? And number two, you can tell people we still have no confirmation that the roommate was transgender. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to play your game also, Allison. Let's tease it out just for fun. Let's say there was a transgender roommate. Let's say this is Groyper's Dog Day afternoon. Let's say there's this white, seemingly straight dude from a conservative family who had a transgender lover back in the day and felt really bad for the transgender lover or friend or roommate and was influenced part and parcel by Groypers and then decided to kill Charlie Kirk. Okay. If that were the case, even within Groypers, folks, there are people who are, wait for it, LGBTQ. Even within MAGA, there are people who are both closeted and openly LGBTQ who then latch onto certain conspiracy theories, white supremacy, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, have access to guns. And even if that were to be true, this alleged transgender roommate lover, according to right wing's own narrative, is helping law enforcement. So how does that in any way, shape, or form absolve Tyler Robinson from his alleged crime? And let me take it a step further, Allison, using their own logic. Well, because Tyler Robinson was allegedly closely related to a transgender person through the associative property, we can then blame the transgender person. Okay, I'll use your logic. Jeffrey Epstein, the most notorious pedophile on earth, said his closest friend was Donald Trump. They used to party together and chase women. So, using MAGA's own language, Allison, Donald Trump is complicit and or to blame for Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia, and maybe we should release the Epstein files. Allison, what do you think about my logical train of thought?
No, I think that that's a perfectly rational example. To say, oh, well, if you are friends with someone, then you must clearly, because how many times has Donald Trump been like, oh, I take pictures with a million people. I don't know who that is. That's not That's not E. Jean Carroll. That's my ex-wife, Marla Maples. I don't even know who these people are. George Papadopoulos, coffee boy. I don't even know who he is. I don't even understand. I mean, how many times has he tried to distance himself from his own crimes with prima facie evidence that he is close to these people by saying that he's not close to these people? So I think that that's a really good point. But again, it's a point that's going to fall on the deaf ears. The ears that need to hear it aren't going to
Gone. Gone.
listen to it. But the final failure, and probably the biggest failure of the media, is the sanitization, the
Oh,
sanitizing Charlie Kirk. And I said at the end of my video pod yesterday, if you can't honor a man by quoting him directly because his own words seem disparaging to his legacy, then perhaps you shouldn't try to honor him at all.
mm,
I, Usually, when someone passes away, we throw quotes up. I think Tulsi Gabbard at some sort of an event mourning Charlie Kirk today quoted Martin Luther King Jr., who Charlie Kirk has said is awful and never liked, was a terrible person. So the cognitive dissonance is obvious and real, and we've seen it time after time over the past 8 to 10 years with the right wing and with MAGA especially. But now, the Washington Post, in a sixth issue with the media covering this, the Washington Post has fired a reporter
mm,
who did nothing more than talk about what Charlie Kirk believed with his whole chest, things Charlie Kirk was proud of,
yeah.
beliefs that he wanted everybody to know about. And so, I mean, how many times have you been arguing with somebody online and you've quoted them directly and they've been like, "What are you trying to do?" And I'm like, "I'm just quoting you, sir. I'm just saying what you said. I'm just reiterating your beliefs."
Allison, I think
And
it's a very
she was
important
fired,
point.
and Mike and
What you
Mike
said,
and
go on.
Matthew Dowd was fired. But we have Brian Kilmeade wanting to uh, execute by lethal injection unhoused people. And all he did was throw up a bullshit gaslighting apology, and he still has his job. So, maybe we could talk a little bit about this reporter from the opinion section of the Washington Post who was just fired.
No, I mean, what we will. It's Karen Atia, but I think you made another important point that I'm trying to stress is Charlie Kirk said this with proudly. He doubled down on it. He owned it. He was happy to say it. He trolled people. He wanted you to be pissed off. It was not a one-off. He never misspoke. He owned it. He wore it like a badge of honor, mocking black people, women. He called George Floyd a scumbag. He tried to get money. He tried to pardon Officer Chauvin, the killer of George Floyd, right? He got his crew, his followers, to harass professors. There was a professor's watch list. He got his followers to try to raise money to get the bail of Paul Pelosi's, assassin or attempted assassin, right? The guy who bludgeoned Paul Pelosi, right? This is a man who said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. This is a man who said black people were better off during segregation and slavery. This is a man who mocked the intellectual capacity of black women. This is a man who openly mocked and ridiculed Muslims. One of his final tweets was, "Islam is a sword used by the left to slit the throat of America," right? 6 buses for January 6th. Yep. Thank you, God. He was all in on January 6th. He promoted the January 6th insurrection, right? So it's important, folks. He owned all of this. He said it proudly. You just have to play his own videos, literally quote him word for word. And as Allison said, none of this will work on MAGA. I tried it all weekend. It's done. They're gone. But for the overwhelming majority, the majority of people need to know this. And when some people like me and Allison have tried to bring it out, death threats. When Karen Atia, who was the last remaining black opinion writer for the Washington Post, came out with some benign comments when Tyler Robinson was, announced as the alleged suspect, and she was talking about the double standards, which are clear because then Nancy Mace, once she found out there was a white man, she prayed for him. Look at the tweets, like amazing whiplash. Karen Atia did a couple of posts on Blue Sky, very benign. And Allison, she was fired. And she was fired by the Washington Post in the most brutal, like insensitive way with an email. Karen Atia was Jamal Khashoggi's editor. Jamal Khashoggi was a U.S. resident who was hacked up by Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, whom Donald Trump loves and adores. Karen Attiah was the Globe and opinion editor. Karen worked there for 11 years. Every other Black writer had left or resigned. Karen was the last one. And Matthew Dowd, as Allison said, was fired for literally telling the truth, like literally being accurate. Karen Attiah was fired. And I shared with
Well,
Allison.
and one other quick thing too, if you've read Matthew Dowd's explanation of what happened to him, he when he went on the air, only heard that shots were fired at a Charlie Kirk event. He had no idea Charlie Kirk had been hit, and he had no idea that Charlie Kirk had gone to the hospital.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They said, "Hey, there's been shots fired at a Charlie Kirk event on a school campus. There's another school shooting. Do you want to come on and talk about the divisive environment that we face right now?" Yeah, sure. So he came on and talked about how Charlie Kirk was divisive, not knowing that he had even been hit by a bullet.
Makes it even more shameful and pathetic. Pathetic
Yeah,
that MSNBC did it.
I
And
hope
at
he sues,
Washington
and I
Post,
hope it gets reinstated. And
what do
along
you
those
but do you want him reinstated though, Allison? If you were Matthew, why would Matthew go back? Like
No,
why?
if he wants reinstated.
Yeah.
Like, when I was fired from the Department of Veterans Affairs, they asked me if I wanted my job back, and I said, "No, thank
Yeah.
you." But a lot of people do. Lisa Cook wants her job back. Kathy Harris wants her job back. FTC board Slaughter wants her job back. Maureen Comey just sued for
Yes,
being
dude,
wrongfully
right. I just
terminated.
saw that.
Wants her job back. She wants to be reinstated with back pay. And so some people do want to come back. So I'll leave that up to Dowd. Now, if I were Dowd, I would stay independent and do what Katie Fang has done and Joy Reid has done and Tiffany Cross and everybody else who's been pushed out of these spaces as they're trying to whitewash the media, literally. Um, but something else that I read that I thought was very fascinating, and again, this is along the lines of your analogy of Donald Trump being friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's a really great point to make when you want to show the insane hypocrisy and cognitive dissonance, but will fall on deaf ears on MAGA. But I think the folks here, all 1,500 of you, and you, Waj, will appreciate this particular tweet from Eric Tastic, who said, or it's a post. It says, "He was killed on camera. No one's family deserves to have to witness that. It's unthinkably cruel that people would then go on the internet and use their platform to say about an innocent man, 'I don't care that he's dead. He's not a hero. He's a scumbag. He shouldn't be celebrated.'" I'm talking about George Floyd, by the way. You thought
Mm.
I was talking about Charlie Kirk? No, these are quotes by Charlie Kirk about George Floyd. Outrageous that anyone would say that of the dead, right? So I thought that that was a, because I was like, as I was reading that, I was like, "Oh, this is what?" And then, oh, I, like, just smacked upside the head with the reality of who those quotes were about and who was saying them.
I saw it
So,
on your Blue Sky last night, and I retweeted it. And Allison, I don't think Mehdi will mind. I saw Mehdi over the weekend, Mehdi Hassan, and he, like you and me, were
um,
banging our head against the wall because we're like, the failure of corporate media, folks, is it's their job to give you context. As Allison has already said, and she just gave another example, all of this is out in the open. The hypocrisy, the double standards of the right wing. Donald Trump literally celebrating, mocking, ridiculing Paul Pelosi after being, hammered. The fact that Mike Lee, the senator of Utah, the state where this took place, openly mocked and trolled Governor Walz after the shooting in Minneapolis. The fact that there's 10 years worth of receipts where Donald Trump has incited stochastic terror against his critics, Liz Cheney, Joe Biden, the press, and on and on and on. It's their job to give you the context. It's their job to say, isn't this hypocrisy? It's their job to say, oh, the people who now want to cancel everyone are the ones who ran on against cancel culture, the ones who want to cut your free speech and dox you and get you fired are the people who call themselves First Amendment warriors. The people who say their words are inspiring terrorism are the same ones who fought to say words don't incite violence. You could be politically correct. Stop being a snowflake. It is not our job, Allison, to do all the work of actual journalists and journalistic platforms who give the context to the people. All that context has been missing for the past week.
Yeah, it certainly has. And talk about, being violent. A group had put up a website called charliesmurderers.com. And I can, break this news, and I just put it out on my
Oh, great.
Substack. So thanks for subscribing. But I spoke to that particular system security specialist, hacker, who since yesterday has been telling me what's their plan has been with this website because it's dangerous. And they laid a trap. The hackers got into the website, laid a trap, and the people who run that website, who he says it's being run like it's a bunch of high schoolers, and he sees some similarities with the data extractions from Doge, although there hasn't been an actual connection to Doge yet with this Charlie's Murderers website. But he laid the bait, and if they took the bait, if they saw him in there and circled the wagons, it would actually poison 90% of the data that they receive from the public about, because basically this website is, hey, tell us who's being mean about Charlie, and we'll dox them, and
Yep.
we'll send people after him and send them death threats and, just good, nice Christian stuff. So he laid the bait and they took it. And now if you go to charliesmurderers.com, it's down. It's offline.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
That's I saw it yesterday. I did not click on it. I'm like, my God, I use it as an example of exactly what you said is the hypocrisy that these folks who are against cancel culture are literally openly canceling everyone. That's a great scoop. And you say you just published it on Mueller, she wrote?
Yeah, I just published it on MullerSheWrote.com. More to come, including screenshots and the sort of from start to finish stuff that I don't really understand because I am a Luddite. I don't understand tech, right? And I'm actually talking to this anonymous source, and I'm like, do I say it was hacked? Did you set a booby trap? Are those the right words? And he's like, well, DDoS, Schmurnaferna, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but like, I don't know what any of that means.
Allison's like, they hacked booby trap. I'm going to go with booby trap. She goes, yeah. And then you can just tell his heart probably would be like sinking. He goes, just say booby trap. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. He's like, yeah, it's accurate. It's like, all right, cool. But there's going to be more at MullerSheWrote.com. Again,
Oh, that's great.
no paywall because we're bad capitalists. Where you'll be able to see the step-by-step hack that took place to take down this site. The
Oh, they shared
idea,
it. That's dope. That is
the,
dope.
the idea was to, because it was open public source, right? Like send us all of your information, send us the doxing information, we'll put it up on this website. And what these hackers did was corrupt and poison those data so they were unusable. At least 90% of it was unusable. And the idea was to force the owners of charliesmurderers.com to set up a permissions structure, logins, IDs, verification to, and because when you set up that kind of structure, that the hackers can then go in and corrupt that at the base level and have it taken down again and poison the stuff that's sent in, and then also maybe identify some of the people who are contributing to the doxing. So that was the whole purpose. They saw that they were in there. They packed up their shit, left town, got a new domain name, got a new host, and charliesmurderers.com no longer exists. So
And and
successful hacking operation, which is
and
really kind of cool.
and folks, this is one of those situations. This is not one of those, oh, just nerds online being nerds. The right wing in its entirety, if you haven't been following this over the weekend, I hope you didn't, and you weren't masochists like me and Allison, and you actually rested and spent time with your family and loved ones. They have used Charlie Kirk's murder as their Reichstag fire. They have openly now started using this to crush any radical left wing organization. That means any critic of Donald Trump. They're going after colleges. They're going after teachers. They have gotten people fired. They want people like completely removed from their positions. Stephen Miller openly has used this to now, attack and crush radical left wing organizations. What does that mean? Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, if you saw her very disturbing 60-minute address uh, did this veiled threat against they and them who did this to Charlie. And the rest of us are like, the suspect is one dude, Tyler Robinson. What do you mean? Are you talking about the Groypers? I don't think she's talking about Groypers. I think she's talking about the rest of us. Exactly, Tranquil. It was hella creepy. So this is what's happening. This is a full scale assault against all of us. And I want to remind y'all that Stephen Miller is the one who said that we are being invaded right now, which was his excuse to invoke the Alien Enemies Act, which was used to intern innocent Japanese American citizens during World War II. And he's also used the word insurrection. And Donald Trump has also unleashed the National Guard against the American public. It's all connected, Allison. And I think this is the end game that they want. They have already done a hagiography, sanitize and whitewash Charlie Kirk. And I will say this, I don't want you to get in trouble. This is just Wajahat Ali saying it. Wajahat Ali is saying this. Only Waj, speaking about myself in third person. I condemn Charlie Kirk's murder because I condemn political violence, regardless of who does it. And I condemn Charlie Kirk's legacy and life of hate. His words that inspired hate, division, cruelty, his entire life that was dedicated to dividing us, to radicalizing young people, to bully the most marginalized, including women, transgender people, Muslims, Black people. He was a hateful piece of shit. He was a terrible person. And I think it is important for people to be informed about his worldview by simply listening to his own videos and reading his own words. I
Yeah,
speak only for myself.
I'm with you. I don't celebrate his death. I'm just not sad. There's a difference. I think gun violence is horrible and awful, and we've been fighting for a very long time to stop these kinds of shootings at campuses, and this kind of gun violence. It is not mutually exclusive. It is mutually exclusive, I should say, that you can disagree with Charlie Kirk, and doing that doesn't condone gun violence. You can be against gun violence and also against what Charlie Kirk espoused. Um, I don't understand why that nuance is something that the corporate media won't touch. And I say it again, if quoting a man or talking about what he actually believed in makes him look bad, Fox News actually wrote a whole piece about condemning the Wikipedia page of Charlie Kirk because it said what Charlie Kirk said. It listed his beliefs, it listed his quotes, and they're like, "Look at this framing. Anybody who looks up Charlie Kirk would think he's a bad dude." It kind of blew
It's
my
like,
mind.
how dare you call me racist for saying racist things? You made me racist. It's the same old right wing trap. I want to ask you these quick questions, Allison, before I let you go. And thank you for staying a little extra longer. And thank you for the 1,700 people who have tuned in. This will be up later on Allison's site, Muller She Wrote, and The Left Hook for free because we're terrible capitalists. For those who joined us a bit late, Allison brought all the receipts talking about the failures of corporate media, and not just the failures of corporate media, but also corporate media bending the knee in advance to the narrative, the bullshit narrative set in place by Donald Trump and the right wing before there was any suspect, and trying to kind of shoehorn the facts into a narrative that blames the left. And how dangerous it is, folks. They're literally trying to crack down on the rest of us, crack down on our free speech, go after people, right? Get people fired. They already have doxing people. And also in furtherance, as Stephen Miller has said, to crack down on radical left-wing organizations with violence, because there's armed National Guard members literally in the nation's capital. Donald Trump said he's going to unleash it in Memphis, already in Chicago. He said he's going to unleash it, and it's in LA, right? So that's what's happening, folks, in real time. Do you think that corporate media can evolve in this moment? Can they meet this
Um,
moment?
I think they'll be forced to adapt or perish. I think it's going to go down like the major record labels did with independent artists and independent labels. They need to work with independent media. And right now, everything is kind of that way. It's sort of a balancing act. We have some amazing reporters and journalists and investigative journalists who work for these corporate media outlets who do really good work and put out really amazing stories. And then independent journalists also get their own scoops and then help promote the good work that comes out of these corporate media outlets. But if they start firing everybody who's good and sanitizing everything from the corporate media outlets and failing to work with and see the value in independent media and citizen journalism and new media, they're going to go by the wayside. And we've already seen it. Everybody, CNN's going CNN Plus, MSNBC is going, you went to Peacock, and then all of these digital online 2-minute things, and they've fired a ton of people from a lot of these. ABC, 60 Minutes, right? CBS, anything owned by Disney. Washington Post is cleaned house. They've even taken away their Democracy Dies in Darkness moniker because they obviously died in darkness. And then we see what's happening with NBC Universal and all
Yep.
these other things. But they have to, and I don't know what kind of more of a signal that you need for corporate media to understand that they need us, then or people like us, or the people they want to fire, than Colbert winning the Emmy
Yep.
last night, and getting massive standing ovations and saying, "I desperately love my country." And just, I mean, I
Hannah
don't.
Einbender openly saying F ICE, free Palestine to huge applause. Javier Bardem wearing keffiyeh and openly saying, I'm here to speak out against the genocide.
Well, and then Seinfeld says, "Just admit it. If you say free Palestine, it means you don't like Jews.
So Hannah
Just admit it."
Einbender, who's Jewish, hates herself.
Yes, that must be the idea. Because again, you can't apparently separate the thinking that what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is wrong and is actually endangering Jews, wanting freedom for all people, and still be like, you can't have both of those thoughts at the same time for some reason. It's just mind blowing to me. And
Yes, and someone asked, did
Jerry
Sarah say
Seinfeld,
that?
wait,
He
Jerry
said
Seinfeld
it last
actually.
week.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, he said, someone just asked Allison, did Jerry Seinfeld just say that? And I said, yep, he said it last week.
Yeah, and he also said that makes you free Palestine people worse than the Ku Klux Klan, because at least the Ku Klux Klan was honest about hating the people they hated. If you say free Palestine, why don't you just come out and say you hate Jews? Like, I'm like, why can't you? It. I don't even know. I don't even know.
And by the way, folks, Jerry Seinfeld's daughter works at, wait for it, Barry Weiss's Free Press. Not making that up. You could see her byline right there. Last question I want to ask you, Allison. I've been thinking about this for a while, ever since Donald Trump's assassin was revealed to be a white, gun loving man from a Republican family who loved Trump. And seeing the mishmash of ideologies come out from online that's radicalizing people. I wanted your take on it because I asked my co host Danielle about this. I believe we're seeing fissures within the MAGA movement. Epstein is the biggest fissure because even with this top down narrative they're trying to sell, if you go online and you see what some MAGA folks are saying, they aren't buying it. They're saying, oh, it was too good of a hit. It's Israel. It's a foreign country. It's an inside job. So you see cracks within the movement. You see cracks because they've already radicalized the MAGA base with QAnon, and they've turned on Dan Bongino and Kash Patel over the lack of release of Epstein files. You saw Laura Loomer, she deleted the tweet, but we have the tweet, turn on Charlie Kirk recently because she said, oh, you platformed Dave Smith, the libertarian who turned on Trump. You stabbed Trump in the back. Laura Loomer deleted that tweet. And then you see Groypers and the Nick Fuentes movement. Well, the analogy that I've given in simple terms is they radicalized this monster. They nurtured it, they fed it, they used it as a weapon against the rest of us. But Frankenstein's monster is now escaping the lab, and some of these monsters are turning on the creator. Your take on this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that seems fairly obvious. And that's kind of been the way it has been for a long time, right? We've seen some great political cartoons of um, Mitch McConnell creating the monster of Donald Trump and then
Mhm.
trying to say he's a bad guy. We've seen it with Bill Barr. We've seen cartoons with the Republican Party uh, nurturing a tiny little T-Rex, and now it's being swallowed whole by it, right? I mean, this is just one tiny part of a massive. You're the dog that's caught the car now. I think Joy Reid said on her Substack last night, "You caught the car. You got everything you wanted. You're getting rid of black people, getting rid of DUI. You're getting rid of probably HBCUs. You're gotten rid of this. You're mass deporting people. You've got a blogger, Dick Brain, at the head of the FBI. You've got your fixer in charge of the Department of Justice. You got your other fixer going to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals now. Why are you still angry? Why are you still angry?" So she's asking a very critical question there. Like, you got it. You won. You own the libs. You fascist fucks. What do you want now? What are you mad about? And so now they're the dog that's caught the car. And I think, and I'm with you, and we can kind of end on this, wrap up. I got to get out of here in a second, but he's run out of usefulness, I think,
Yep.
to to his handlers who
Yep.
put him in office,
Yep.
which is Putin, Thiel, Murdoch, all these oligarchs, the oligarchs. He's run out of his usefulness has expired. Now, I thought that after he was elected the first time, and that Putin would turn on him, but Putin was playing a long game, and so here we are. He's even no longer useful to Saudi Arabia, right? Because Saudi Arabia's got Musk and Thiel and Yarvin and all these other people that are willing to do all their work for them. So we'll see what ends up happening. He's not well,
Nope.
uh,
Nope.
and it's going to be interesting to see. The way that I frame it is that this is a massive opportunity for us to kind of not remake, but reimagine the Democratic Party with candidates like Mamdani. Hochul just came out and endorsed her after Senator Van Hollen was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why aren't you
Van
endorsing?"
Hollen who?
Yeah. Did you see that from Jeffries?
Van Hollen who?
I'm expecting Jeffries and Schumer to suck it up and follow suit.
Oh yeah.
But will I think this is a wonderful opportunity to really move forward with a new generation of leadership. But not
I
not not to get rid of all the leadership in the Democratic Party. I mean, I'm talking about a handful of people, and I'm not gonna throw the entire Democratic Party out with the bathwater. It's a handful of people that we've been pushing to be better, and I think that we can I think that's working, and I hope that we're able to move that Overton window and go forward from there.
Reformation, not restoration. The time for restoration is over. We need reformation. And I believe that you're going to witness MAGA destroy itself. Fascists come for other fascists in the end, but the damage is generational. So many people, so many institutions are going to be burned as they burn themselves. And I agree with you. I think Donald Trump is an aging, decaying man. I think they realize his time is limited. They got what they needed from him. They got the power. They purged the courts. They're purging the institutions. They passed the pro-crypto legislation. They passed the big, beautiful bill. They got their tax cuts. And now what they're doing, because I think they realize he's dying, is they're trying to consolidate as much power as possible for what they realize is a very unpopular doughboy, JD Vance. But it doesn't matter if JD Vance doesn't unite them, is because they'll have all the power. And what I think they also are underestimating is their own base that they've radicalized that's going to turn on them. The second thing I think they've underestimated is that once Donald Trump dies, people ain't going to follow JD Vance. It's going to be Julius Caesar. It's going to be Governor Abbott there. Ron DeSantis is going to come back. Erica Kirk is going to make a move. It's going to be just a massive power play. As they splinter and harm each other, they're going to harm, of course, democracy and the rest of us, which is why the rest of us have to organize. The rest of us have to be awake, informed, take care of each other. And folks, be decent, support independent media. Please support Allison. I'm really happy Allison is doing 10 videos, but I kind of am not because I know she doesn't sleep. So I do not recommend this, but she's doing it. But Pot Kettle Brown, or in this case, Marxist, Islamist, Socialist, Catholic Pope, support Allison. It's Mueller, She Wrote. That's her website. That's her Substack. It's free. The Daily Beans podcast with politics every day in nice Cliff Notes version with swearing and comedy. And tell them where they can find these new videos of yours.
The video podcast runs on the live Midas Touch feed Sundays at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. And after they run, I put up a link so you can watch the whole thing on my Substack, MullerSheWrote.com.
And folks, I'll be back in 10 minutes with our friend Qasim Rashid because who needs rest? So this is a left hook. There's no paywalls for me. There's no paywalls for Allison. We're terrible capitalists. We have deliberately kept everything for free. If you can become a subscriber, become a free subscriber. If you have a few dollars, it goes a long way. Give money to Allison. And if you have a couple bucks left over, give it to me because I have 800 kids. If you can't, at least just subscribe and share the good news. We've been talking for the past 45 minutes. For those who joined us late, 2,100 people. Thank you so much. It'll be up on our Substacks later in an hour with transcripts. So I strongly recommend you double up and see the whole conversation because Allison brings all the receipts. Folks, see you all in 10 minutes. Take care. And please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Thank you, Allison.
Thanks, Wash.